Assalamu alaikum, masakum Allah bil khair, and welcome back to our class of drama. After discussing what drama is, how it began and where it began, we now move to classical drama. Classical drama, or what is also known as the Western form of drama, grew and developed in Greece. In Greece, people were very simple and agricultural. They grew grapes, apples, and olives. That was their basic community. And in order to have a good harvest, those people worshipped a god called Dionysius. Now, they had so many gods, but this god in particular was very dear to them. Why? Because he was the god of wine, agriculture, and fertility. And for that god, festivals were held. They honored that god by creating drama. So basically, drama was their religion. And their religion is what we now know as mythology. Now, you can see portraits of the god Dionysius. Here are the portraits. Ancient and modern portraits, of course. Their depictions look at how grapes and apples are growing out of his hair, how he's holding grapes, and of course, he's holding wine. How it developed? Well, there was something in Greece called the choir. And the choir is a group of 50 who would stand together with a leader, and they would sing hymns, religious hymns, and religious songs as well. One day, the leader of that group stepped up, took a step forward, and he started reciting hymns or a certain song, and the others would reply. That was the first real step towards drama. Then a man called Thespis introduced for the first time the idea of an actor, an independent actor, independent from the leader and the rest of the choir or the chorus. That created interaction. Greek actors wore masks for multiple reasons. The first reason is to be able to perform more than one character at the same time, by one actor, of course. The second is to show gestures, facial gestures. And the other is to show whether this was a comedy or a tragedy. Now, you do understand by now that Greek drama was comedy or tragedy. The word comedy does not mean laughter in here. It means that the play would end in a happy ending, and tragedy would mean a sad ending. And these masks were connected to the shape of the Greek theater. Take a look at it. It's very huge and very high. So people would sit up there and they would watch the play. And it is very interesting because the shape of the Greek theater is inspired by their geography. It is inspired by the mountain. Look at that picture. There is a mountain behind. So people at the beginning, before building theaters, they would sit at the curve of the mountain because it would take a lot of people to sit there. And the actors would perform at the foot of the mountain. So it is the same principle. People would sit up there and the actors would perform down there at the end of the theater. So that's one of the reasons why they wore masks. because people high up wouldn't be able to see the facial expressions of the actor, so they wouldn't know whether it's a comedy or a tragedy. And by the way, dialogue was not of much importance, or maybe because it was their religion, so they already knew the verse that was spoken by the actors, and action was of main importance. Now you might wonder, if it was their religion or part of their religion, that means it would be repeated year after year, festival after festival. So what kept people coming? It was dramatic irony that kept them coming. And dramatic irony is when the audience knows more information than the characters on the stage. So characters would see what's going on in the play, they know the upcoming events, but in a way they wish they can intervene and change it. But again, they know they cannot. That created tension and suspense. In Greek festivals, competitions were held among playwrights, competitions similar to those that we have today. Hundreds of playwrights participated in those events, and thousands of plays were introduced. Unfortunately, only 3 playwrights survive today, and in each case, only 1 work. Luckily for us, in every case, the playwright represented the climax of his time. So we have at the beginning Aeschylus, and then Sophocles, and at the decline we have Euripides. Those are the main tragedians. And there is a 4th playwright who was concerned more with comedy. And because we have 3 tragedians and only 1 comic playwright, today we know much more about tragedy than we know about comedy. Now it's time to discuss the major playwrights and their achievements in that civilization. Now keep in mind, the Greek civilization rose to power and fell within the span of 100 years. Thus, it is only logical that drama also rose and fell within the same span of time. We begin with Aeschylus, who introduced the 2nd actor into the stage. Now remember, it was Thespis who introduced the first independent actor, and now we have Aeschylus further strengthening drama by adding the 2nd actor. Aeschylus was considered the father of drama, and this is not because of the additions that he added to the stage, but it was because of his ideas. Aeschylus, and later on Sophocles as well, were not only playwrights, they were men of state. They held official offices. So they represented the regime. And their ideology was as follows: if you go against the gods, even if you're a good person, you will end tragically. Your end will be tragic. And the reason for that is that gods in their time represented the highest form of authority. So by going against the gods, that means that you're going against the king. By going against the king, you're going against the state. And that idea kept going in drama long after Aeschylus' death, and even long after Sophocles' death. We move then to Sophocles, who is considered to be the climax of Greek civilization in terms of drama, Greek plays. Now, Sophocles kept the same ideology, but it was in a way less tense. He took more care in the relation between the individual man and gods. So his characters appeared more natural, more humane, and even today, his plays are still enjoyed by people because, in one way or another, when you see his characters, you would relate to them. You would see, for example, Oedipus as having same features or same characteristics as you or as one of your friends.
As Aeschylus represented the rise of Greek drama and introduced the second actor, Sophocles representing the climax and introducing the third actor, in the decline of drama, we have Euripides, who did not add any more actors. But he was well known for using different masks for the same actor. And by using different masks with the same actors, he was able to portray multiple characters on the stage. Although he didn't add any more actors, Euripides changed a lot in Greek theater. He reduced the role of the chorus from taking real parts in the play into mere commentators. And also, he introduced the prologue for the first time, a statement by the chorus that would introduce the characters into the play by giving flashbacks and also by providing foreshadows to show whether the play will end happily or it will end in a tragic way. We have example of that in the 16th century, a prologue in Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, in which the choreo or the chorus introduces the character of Dr. Faustus by giving us what happened in the past to that character. And also, it provides a foreshadow telling us that this play will be around the tragic fate of a gentleman. Despite all the changes that Euripides made on the Greek theater, these changes were not his greatest achievement. The greatest achievement of Euripides was in the meaning of the plays. Unlike Sophocles and Aeschylus before, Euripides was not interested in the relationship between man and gods. On the contrary, he was very critical of the gods. He gave them human characteristics, human weaknesses, and he described them as envious. They envied man for the bliss of death. And as I said, he was not very interested in the relation between man and gods. He was interested in the relation between man and his fellow man in society. In a way or another, Euripides was a prophet of a new age, the age of critical thinking, yet it was also the age of decline in the Greek civilization. Not long after, Greece fell, and in a way, they were replaced by the Roman Empire. And the Romans, despite being imitators of the Greeks in many aspects of life, they kept a very steady line of creativity when it comes to drama. And that continued till nearly the fall of the Roman Empire, when the faith of the Romans changed from paganism to Christianity. Now, the early Christian leaders, they condemned drama as having an immoral influence on people and society. Therefore, they killed and crucified most of the actors, and they closed the theaters forever. Soon after, the Roman Empire collapsed, and the entire continent of Europe turned into the Dark Ages. In these ages, the European man went back to the Stone Age. Apart from small Christian kingdoms fighting with each other, there was nothing to be known about Europe or European civilization. With this, we've come to the end of our lecture. Thank you very much indeed. Class dismissed, and I'll see you soon in another video for another lecture talking about drama in the movies.